Hello and welcome back to No Bullshit. Today we're talking about the latest and wildest thing that the woke, politically correct culture in America is getting triggered about this week: bowl cuts. For those who don't know, bowl cuts are a type of haircut, usually for boys, but in 2019, current year, there isn't really that kind of designation to things anymore, as you'll soon see. I've got some juicy examples of newer bowl cuts to go over too, later, which will completely smash the reason this new SJW complaint is being had. But first, let me explain. When I was a kid in the 90s, bowl cuts were a pretty lame haircut already by then. Basically, they were only cool way back in the day when the Beatles had those haircuts in the 60s and 70s. After that though, noteworthy bowl cuts tend to be sported by comedians as a joke. Examples of this include legendary comic and slapstick comedian Moe from the Three Stooges. And later, back to the 90s, by then, the only legitimate bowl cuts could be seen on actors like Jim Carrey in his movie Dumb and Dumber. Hilarious flick, by the way, and a good look for him in it too, but Carrey looked good here because he looked hilariously ridiculous, and quite frankly, he looked like a total loser. And that was the point, of course, here. And it's what made his character so funny too. Another more recent example of the bowl cut phenomenon is when Ben Stiller sported the look in the movie within the movie of Tropic Thunder from 2008. This simple Jack character he created was being portrayed as another joke, and another fine example of the bowl cut being used on a comedic character that tends to be not so smart, to say the least. So with all that said, I'm getting to a point here, don't worry. But before we get into more of today's story though, let's first take a moment to check out our loyal sponsors, Raid Shadow Legends. For those who don't know, Raid Shadow Legends is an awesome new RPG game that's really fun to play. It does epic dark fantasy right, and it's very adult and mature themed, so don't worry, you're not going to see any cartoons here, guys. And best of all, Raid is absolutely free, so why not give it a shot today? More than 10 million players worldwide have already downloaded this game in less than 6 months, and I'm going to tell you why. In Raid, you can collect over 400 champions, gather orcs, undead, knights, elves, and even more. That's pretty cool. The game is growing super fast too, and the highly anticipated new Faction Wars feature is now live, so we can check that out as well. Also, in Raid, you have the ability to personally customize and choose the artifacts and design a unique mastery build from each one of them. Pretty cool. Don't just take my word for it. There's over 300,000 positive reviews on the Google Play Store. So, if you're interested, make sure you check out the links below this video. If you use my links, you'll get free in-game bonuses for signing up, and you'll also get some new epic champions if you're a new player. Check them out today, and thanks again to Raid for sponsoring this video. Great, now that that's out of the way, back to today's news story, and the reason this bowl cut is triggering many leftists actually might surprise you. It's not because it's being used on dumb, slower characters and that offends them. Actually, their new claim is bowl cuts are a symbol for white supremacy. That's right, the ever-elusive white supremacy boogeyman that liberals and leftists are always crying about, but despite their constant complaints and claims that it's so prevalent in America today, we have still yet to see any major relevant significant examples of this group or of it causing any problems whatsoever. And that's because the truth is, left-wingers aren't worried about this issue at all, mostly because it's not really an issue and it's something they are exaggerating or even making up at times. Actually, when you hear SJWs cry about supposed white supremacy, it's really just their indirect way to hate on white people as a whole, regardless of your beliefs. For more details on this bowl cut controversy, let's turn to an article from Rolling Stone called "How a White Supremacist Haircut Became a Symbol for Hate," with a subtitle saying far-right extremists are now using Dylan Roof's haircut as shorthand for calls to violence. Okay, wow. First of all, these so-called shorthand calls to violence, that's just more wordplay and trickery from the anti-whites on the left-wing side. It's basically the same kind of thing they mean when they say their opponents are dog whistling. Or a way to more accurately describe what they mean is, they think people who disagree with them or people they don't like, well, they think we're some kind of secret racist. That means, although their opponents haven't said or done anything actually racist or offensive at all, they still try and claim they did anyway. Pretty ridiculous. And this whole shorthand calls thing is just as dumb as the dog whistling one too, the one they've tried to pin on us for years. So let's go ahead and read into more of this article anyway though, and see how bad this really gets. As recently as a few years ago, the bowl cut was primarily known as an unfashionable hairstyle popular among toddlers whose parents cut their own hair, and 1990s child stars. Over the past few years, however, some far-right extremists have appropriated references to the hairstyle as a chilling symbol of racism and extremist violence. According to a recent report from the Anti-Defamation League, on Thursday morning, the ADL released its additions to its hate symbols database, a library of more than 200 symbols used by hate groups, supposedly. In addition to entries such as the Happy Merchant, a meme of an anti-Semitic charismatic caricature gleefully rubbing his hands together, and the OK hand emoji, which actually originated as a 4chan and an 8chan hoax before being adopted by the white supremacist movement as an actual hate symbol, the database now contains the bowl cut, a reference to the hairstyle sported by Dylan Roof. Okay, well, we get it, guys. Roof is a really bad guy who did very terrible things. Literally no one is trying to defend him or what he did, nor will I. But I do think it's funny that Rolling Stone magazine here is taking this ADL organization seriously. They are the group who still to this day says that the OK hand symbol stands for white supremacy too, even though that was proven to be an internet hoax, as they directly reference here. But then they inexplicably double down and say they know it was a hoax now, but now it's actually a real hate symbol. Seriously, you better believe us. But believe me, I don't buy it for a second. Come on, people. When are we going to all realize this organization is a complete joke? YouTube's PewDiePie himself caught on to this deception weeks ago, and that's why he pulled his donation from this group, as we covered in a video back then when it happened. And since then, the ADL has just gotten worse too, as we could see with this new ridiculous claim that bowl haircuts are offensive and racist now. Give me a break. And in addition, if you look at the ADL's website and these other supposed hate symbols that they report on, well, it becomes pretty clear who they are targeting here. Nowhere on their website do they go after anyone who's not white. This is a fact. And also, they ignore actual terrorist groups like Antifa all the time, even saying people who oppose Antifa were the violent ones and were the ones who are offensive. Please, they are ignoring the actually violent groups here in our country and going after ones they claim are secretly violent, even though there's exactly zero proof any of that's true. Next, let's talk about and show some examples of these things that completely contradict their narrative. First, let's debunk the OK hand symbol, which of course has been used for ages. It means yes, affirmative, or of course, okay. And well, here's some prominent Democrats and minorities flashing this same sign. First, we have Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez here in a picture where she's showing the OK sign on her Instagram, which is being sent out to her 4 million followers. Next, here's 3 prominent liberals and African Americans also doing the OK hand sign, which is supposedly supporting whites who hate them, at least according to social justice warriors and this corrupt ADL organization. And I don't know why black people would support racists who hate them, but hey, none of this really makes sense anyway. I mean, think about it. These 3 blacks in this picture wouldn't even be as rich or famous as they are in our country if we were all real racist and anti-black like how the left claims. Beyonce is one of the biggest and richest singers of all time, and Oprah's a freaking billionaire with one of history's biggest talk shows too. And finally, Barack Hussein Obama became the freaking president here for 2 terms covering 8 years. But somehow, despite all this black success and people voting for black people and everything, well, they still pretend to be these poor helpless victims who are being oppressed by a fake supremacy that they all seem to have made up. Next, let's show just how ridiculous it is to say the bowl cut is racist now. First, there's the new woke Terminator movie coming out, which not only has an all-female progressive cast, but also they're being led by a feminist white woman who has a bowl cut herself. Next, here's a picture of Rihanna, the singer, another very rich and famous black woman making it in America, and I guess now she's supporting a supposed hate symbol that completely contradicts who she is and also her left-leaning politics. In fact, Rihanna is so left-wing, in 2018, this singer reportedly sent a cease and desist letter to the Trump administration over the use of her song Don't Stop the Music at midterm election rallies. She even tweeted she would never be at or around any of those tragic rallies, but now, somehow, Riri supports whites and racists because, according to radical leftists, her bowl haircut is a secret pro-white hate symbol. But really, we all know that's a joke. But wait, there's plenty more where that came from. First, here's an article praising Charlize Theron for sporting a new bowl cut look, even saying it's the hottest haircut ever. So how the hell did the left go from praising the haircut 2 weeks ago to calling it a racist dog whistle 1 week later? Really makes your noggin jogging. And of course, there's no way anyone would claim Charlize Theron is secretly a pro-white racist. I mean, she's one of the most progressive and radical leftists in Hollywood right now, even bragging about confusing her adopted son by encouraging him to wear dresses so mommy can brag about being so left-wing while doing the rounds in the mainstream media. Lastly, we have one more really ironic example of bowl cuts being worn by radical leftists. Here, Miley Cyrus famously debuted her bowl cut in an interesting look she had a few years back, looking like Simple Jack's twin sister here or something. Seriously, this is exactly what the dumber chromosome-missing version of Rick Sanchez looked like in Rick and Morty. But the goofiness of this look is really besides the point. The point here is this: bowl cuts aren't secret racist dog whistles. If they were, so many SJW types like Miley Cyrus and others wouldn't be wearing them. Miley, of course, famously supported Hillary Clinton back in 2016's election, even crying her eyes out like like a baby when they eventually lost. That and Miley's also supported lots of other leftist causes over the years too. In addition, Miley abandoned her original country music influenced pop style of music, which got her famous, and she eventually switched over to hip hop and R&B when it was convenient for her back in 2013. This also can be seen as her pandering to the woke crowds out there, and in addition, some might say she was trying to be black. In the end, we've got another bogus claim coming from one of the most biased and anti-white groups out there, the ADL, who likes to masquerade as a supposed anti-hate group when really they hate on whites every chance they can get. As I said earlier, their hate lists and bad symbols never include any violent minority-led groups like, say, the awful gangs and murderers ruining cities like Chicago or Los Angeles for years. That and, in addition, the ADL ignores Antifa, who has literally admitted to wanting to cause violence and chaos and saying they want to beat up conservatives. And we've got proof of them doing that all over the internet too. But instead of covering that important stuff though, the actually relevant hate out there, well, instead of dealing with real problems, this fake charity just makes shit up because they were never really about stopping hate in the first place. Funny how they accuse others of dog whistling and having secret ulterior motives because, well, that's exactly what the ADL is doing right here. And once again, we've got another example of leftists and their groups projecting their own huge and obvious flaws, claiming they are the flaws of their opponents when really it's their own damn issues. What do you guys think? Is the bowl cut offensive like they say? Is the okay hand gesture a racist symbol too? Or are the groups behind making these things offensive now, are they really just trying to attack people they've hated from the get-go? Comment your thoughts on everything below, and thanks for watching No Bullshit. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this video, and we'll see y'all next time.